are good. Your grace and your mercy endures forever and ever is your faithfulness. Praise you, Abba. You are good. Your grace and your mercy endures forever and ever is your faithfulness. Yes, Yahweh. Isaiah. And we're going to begin actually in 37, but I just want to do a recap here. A lot has happened in these few pages here, rather. We're going to just touch back on that, about that highway, the way of holiness. There will be a way, and that way, A, holiness, singular. Not passing over it are the unclean, but those he guides will pass over it. The way of holiness. Now down here, something different is happening. We have men speaking, representative speaking, representative of King Hezekiah. All right, are these three men: YAH, Shivna, Elikim. And these men represent the king of Israel, Hezekiah. And then we have another man who represents the so-called great king, the king of Asher. And he's speaking to them, and he's taunting them, telling them, hey, look, y'all so weak. Look, let's make a bet. All right, then. We'll make a wager with my lord, the king of Asher. I will give you 2,000 horses if you can find enough riders for them. How then can you repulse any one of my master's lowest ranked army officers? Yet you are relying on Egypt for chairs and riders. I can give you 2,000 horses, but you ain't got no riders. Now you're going to Egypt for chairs and riders. Don't you know I have done this I have gotten permission from Yah to destroy you. This is what the king of Asher says, the so-called great king. And then he goes on to, and as we read down further, we see that these men are speaking, and these guys right here, these three guys, Elikim, Shevna, and Yoach, they tell him, hey, speak to your servants in Aramaic. Now, of course, these are men who are of some type of status in society, so they can speak a couple of different languages. But most of the time, people who are not of this status can only speak one language, the common language, and the common language is Hebrew. And he tells them, they tell him, don't speak to us in Hebrew. Because what? Because the people on the wall are listening. They don't want their own people to hear how they getting just mocked. But guess what he say? Did my master send me to deliver my message? Did my master send me to deliver my message just to your master, just to your king and to yourself? No. Didn't he send me to address the men sitting on the wall who, like you, are going to eat their own dung and drink their own urine? They right there on the wall telling the Hebrews, yo, these people, these people gonna eat their own dookie and drink their own piss just like you. Then what this man do? He stood up at that point. Then he spoke even louder in Hebrew. Forget what you talking about. I'm still gonna do what my king, the great king, has told me. Now we're gonna begin. 37. On hearing it, King Hezekiah tore his clothes, covered himself with sackcloth, and entered the house of Yahweh. He sent Elikim, who was in charge of the household, Shivna, the general secretary, and the leading priest, covered with sackcloth. He sent all these people, these men, all the priests, and these two great men, I guess, in his court, right? These men, all these men, covered them in sackcloth and did what? Sent them to Yeshayahu, the prophet. So the king got a problem. And guess what he got to see? The prophet. Always understand the prophet. Get what the mouth of Yah is saying. Get what the word of Yah is, even if you're the king. Understand what the word of Yah is. They said to him, this is what King Hezekiah says: today is a day of trouble, rebuke, and disgrace. Children are ready to be born. but there is no strength to bring them to birth. Maybe Yah, now listen. Now this is what amazes me. Maybe Yah, your God, will hear the words of Rav Shana, whom his master King of Asher has sent to taunt the living God. Look at how the king Hezekiah says, listen, maybe your God to the prophet. Why? Because what the king did, the king removed the high places and the altars of Yah, telling you in Jerusalem to do what? Worship something else. And this is why we are being taunted by the king of Asher, because of this king's removal of Yah's things. So much this dude's so gone that this dude, King Hezekiah, he's so gone, he telling the prophet, maybe your God will hear the words whom his master, the king of Asher, has sent to taunt the living God, and will rebuke the message which Yahweh Elohim has heard. Again, he comes back to him, your God. So pray for the remnant that is left. But he's a wise king. He said, pray for the remnant, the ones who the Most High chose to lead. When King Hezekiah's servants came to Yeshayahu, he said to them, tell your master, this is what Yah says. Don't be afraid of the words you heard the servants of the king of Asher used to insult me. Who? Yah, I will put a spirit in him that will make him hear rumor and return to his own land. Then I will cause him to die by the sword in his own land. Says Yah through the prophet. Now the same messenger. What is his name? Rav Shika. Please forgive me for butchering that. Returned, and having heard that the king of Asher had left Lachish, he found him, making war with Limnah. Then he heard it and said that Tiraka, king of Ethiopia, was on his way to fight him. On hearing this, the king of Asher sent messengers to Hezekiah after ordering them, This is what you are to say to Hezekiah, king of Judah. Don't let your God, in whom you trust, deceive you. Hold on. Look at this mockery. Now, we look back. He tells him, hey, listen. He says, he says right here. He tells him, don't let your God, don't. He says right here. He says, now this is what the king says. Beware of Hezekiah. He is only deceiving you, only deluding you. He's only deluding you. Your king is deluding you. Now he goes on to tell, he sends back to the king, hey king, and guess what, King Hezekiah, your God is deluding you. Don't let your God, in whom you trust, deceive you by saying Jerusalem will not be handed over to the power of the king of Asher. This dude is just jacking hard, stunning. You have heard what the king of Asher have done with all the lands. This man about WORD, right? Right, he finna go back. He heard Ethiopia coming against him, so he finna go over there and fight. He already fighting in Lachish, right? Making war with Limnah. This is what he do. He battle and he wins. He does. This is what you are to say to the king. Don't let your God, in whom you trust, deceive you by saying Jerusalem will not be handed over to the power of the king of Asher. You have heard what the kings of Asher have done to all the lands. They have completely destroyed them. So how will you be delivered? ? Have the gods of the nations delivered them? No. My answer is to destroy them. Gozan, Haran, Ritzif, and the people of Eden who are in Tezlah. Where is the king of Hamath? Told you this boy, he about battle, all right? The king of Arpad, the king of Shiphanim, of Hinna, of Avah. Hezekiah took the letter from the messenger's hands and read it. Then Hezekiah went up to the house of Elohim, the house of Elohim, and spread that letter out before Yah. This is the prayer that Hezekiah prayed to Yah. Now we back to Zavawo, the Lord of the armies, because it's time to go to war. Because you got the king of Asher talking about how bad he is in war. Now the Lord of the armies finna come out. The Lord of hosts, your King James might say. The Lord of the armies, God of Israel. Who? The God of Israel. The God of Israel who dwells above the cherubim. You alone are God of all the kingdoms of the earth. You made heaven and earth. Turn your ears, Yahweh, and hear. Open your eyes, Yahweh, and see. Hear all the words that this man sent to taunt the living God. It is true that the king of Asher have laid waste of all the countries and their lands, and have thrown their gods into the fire, for those are non-gods. So this man got victory because these men he defeated, the king of Asher, was non-gods anyway. They were non-gods, merely products of people's hands, wood, stone. This is why they could destroy them. Now therefore, Yahweh our Elohim, save us from his power, so that all the kingdoms of the earth will know that you are Elohim. You only. The Yesiyahu, the prophet, the son of Amos, sent this message to Hezekiah. Yahweh Elohim, the God of Israel, says, you prayed to me against Sennacherib, the king of Asher. Here is the answer concerning him. So the king is praying, but the prophet is the one who answered. Understand? The virgin daughter of Zion despises you. She laughs you to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem shakes her head at you, whom you have taunted and insulted, against whom you have raised your voice and haughtily lifted up your eye. The Holy One of Israel. Through your servants you taunted Adonai. You said, with my many chariots I have ascended to the mountain of heights. Even in the far reaches of the Lebanon, I cut down all its cedars and its best cypress trees. I reached its remotest heights and its best forests. I dug wells and drank the water. The soles of my soldiers' feet dried up all the rivers of Egypt. This man took out Egypt, yo. Haven't you heard? Long ago. Look how you get him. He says what? He said, haven't you heard? Long ago, I made it in iniquity. I produced it. And now I am making it happen. Listen to this. I think about your life. Long ago, he made it. He made it when? In antiquity. And then he produced it. He made it and produced it in antiquity. Listen, long ago, he made it and he produced it in antiquity. Didn't you know? But guess what? Now he making it happen. Let those who have ears hear. You are turning 45 cities into Hebrew homes. Yes, you are. You bad. While their inhabitants, shorn of power, are disheartened and the same, weak as grass, frail as plants, like grass on the rooftops or grain scorched by the east wind. But I know when you sit and when you leave, when you enter and when you raise up against me, and because you raised up against me, because of your pride that has reached my ears, right? You can have all those non-gods. You can destroy them. They're not gods. But the Most High tells him, I love this stuff. He tells him, but I know when you sit and when you leave and when you enter and when you rage against me, and because you're rage against me, because of your pride that has reached my ears, I'm putting my hook in your nose and my bridle in your lips, and I will make you return by the way which you came. Hear what he told him? Hear what he told him right here? He said, look. Hey, this dude, don't be afraid of the words you heard. Oh, yeah, that's something else separate. Always. I pumped it again. Don't be afraid of the words you heard. Only be afraid of these words. Right? The words you see. Don't be afraid of the words you heard. That the king had asked you to insult me. I will put a spirit in him that will make him hear a rumor and return to his own land, and then I will cause him to die by the sword in his own land. And the rumor already out there. What's this rumor? I heard something about Ethiopia on its way. Okay, but then again, we got Nepal's on that, and the rumors out there. But here go the declaration. Here go the declaration by the Most High through the prophet. I'm putting my hook in your nose and my rod in your lips, and I will make you return by the way in which you came. This will be the sign for you, people of Israel, this year. I received this year you will eat the grain of the ground. You will eat the grain that grows of itself. The second year, look at this. Message, process. Get back up. It's a process, though. This will be the sign for you, people of Israel. This year, you will eat the grain that grows of itself. The second year, you will eat what grows from that. But in the third year, you will sow, reap, plant vineyards, and eat their fruit. Keep pushing, yo. Meanwhile, the remnant of the house of Judah and that has escaped will again take root. I love this. Listen to this. This is what you gotta do, yo. You have to take root downward to bear fruit upward. I love that. You have to. Man. Hey, you remnant. You know who you are. You know who you are. No matter what. Meanwhile, no matter what's going on. Meanwhile. Hey, you, the remnant. Meanwhile. No matter what's going on. The remnant, you. House of Judah that has escaped. And we are to do something. We are to take root downward to bear fruit upward. For a remnant will go out from Jerusalem. Those escaping will go out from Mount Zion. The zeal of the Lord of the armies will accomplish this. We got to take root down to bear fruit up. Therefore, this is what Yahweh says concerning the king of Asher. That was concerning Israel. Here concerning the king of Asher. He would not come to this city or even shoot an arrow there. He would not confront it with a shield or erect earthworks against it. By the way he came, he will return. He will not come to this city. For I will defend this city and save it, both for my own sake and for the sake of my servant David. Not you, Hezekiah, David. Hilkiah. Then the angel of Yah went out and struck down. How many? 885,000 men in the camp of who? In the camp of Asher. Early the next morning, there they were, all of them, corpses, dead. So the king of Asher left and went and returned to live in Nineveh. $185,000 dead in an instant. Because you want to talk to the Most High. One day as he was worshiping in the temple of whatever that is, right? His God, his sons, did what? Struck him with the sword and escaped to the land of Arat. So his son took his place as king. So we have his son Esarhaddon, who became king. You have Zitzer, who struck him, and his other son who struck him. He got 3 sons. 2 of them killed him, and the other one was the king, who became king. Yes, he 37. Let those who have ears hear.